All right, let's get right into it. We have all been there. You're the new person on the team, the digital ink on your contract is barely dry, and then, bam, it lands in your inbox. That calendar invite for your very first team meeting. And immediately, your stomach does a little flip, your palms get kind of sweaty, and the questions just start racing through your head. What am I going to say? How do I contribute something without looking like I have absolutely no idea what's going on? Well, in this explainer, we're going to completely dismantle that anxiety and give you a powerful, super practical toolkit to not just survive your first meeting, but to actually make a genuinely confident and positive impression. This right here is the heart of the problem, isn't it? It's this impossible tightrope walk that's happening inside your head. You're caught in this crazy bind. If I speak, I risk sounding like an idiot, but if I stay quiet, they're going to think I'm disengaged, or even worse, totally incompetent. It's this nasty cocktail of imposter syndrome and social anxiety, and it can feel incredibly lonely. But here's the good news. That feeling is almost universal. And the even better news? There's a way through it. And you know what? It's a lot simpler than you think.
You see, the truth is, most of this pressure, it all comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of what your job actually is in that first meeting. You walk into that room thinking your mission is to be brilliant, to drop some game-changing idea that instantly proves your worth. Let me tell you, that is a completely unrealistic and totally unnecessary pressure to put on yourself. So we're going to do something radical. We're going to redefine your mission. Let's just scrap that goal of being brilliant and replace it with something far more achievable and honestly, way more valuable.
So this is where we just completely lowered the stakes. Your real job in that first meeting, it's not to perform, it's to absorb. First up, your number one goal is just to listen. Seriously, be a sponge. Soak up all the acronyms, the project histories, the team dynamics. Second, your job is to learn. Who are the key players here? What are the big priorities right now? What's the backstory on this project? And third, and this is maybe the most important part, your job is to show that you're engaged. You need to send out these clear signals that say, I'm here, I'm focused, and I'm eager to get up to speed. The moment you accept this new mission, that pressure to be a genius, it just evaporates.
Now, this idea is a total game changer. So many of us think that some people are just, born confident. That is a myth. Confidence, especially at work, isn't a personality trait. It's an output. It's what happens after you do your homework. I mean, think about it. Walking into a meeting unprepared is like walking onto a stage without knowing any of your lines. Of course you're going to feel anxious. So let's shift from just thinking about it to doing something about it. The single most effective way to crush that pre-meeting anxiety is to be thoroughly prepared.
Okay, let's talk strategy. I want you to think of this as your pre-meeting recon mission. First, dissect that agenda. Treat it like a treasure map. Figure out the goal of each topic and who's leading the discussion. Second, do a little research on the attendees. Just know their roles. Who's the project manager? Who's the tech lead? This context is absolutely crucial. Third, study any materials they sent beforehand. Even if you don't get all of it, you'll start absorbing keywords and context. And finally, and this is my favorite tip, prepare 3 to 5 ignorant questions. These are just simple, honest questions about acronyms, project history, or whatever. This gives you a safety net of smart, totally appropriate things you can say. Okay, so you've done your prep, you're in the room, the meeting's started, conversation is flowing all around you. Now what? Well, this is where your toolkit comes in. We're going to break down 3 simple, really powerful, and incredibly versatile phrases. Now, these aren't magic words, but they are like keys that unlock confident participation. They'll move you step by step from a place of maximum safety to a place of genuine contribution.
This is your foundational phrase. This is your go-to. It is the safest and, frankly, often one of the most valuable things you can say. Think of it as your anchor in this big sea of new information. Psychologically, it's brilliant. It shows you're listening really closely, it buys you a second to think, and it shows this humble kind of confidence. You're not afraid to admit what you don't know. Plus, trust me, you are almost never the only person in that room wondering what some acronym means. By asking, you're probably doing everyone else a favor too.
And you can see just how versatile this anchor phrase is. Let's say you hear an acronym you don't know, like QBR. You just use the simple variation. Hey, could you quickly define what QBR stands for? Easy. Or maybe someone says something kind of vague, like, we need to increase engagement. You can use the more advanced version to show you're already thinking critically. When we say increase engagement, are we talking about daily active users, or is it something else? See, that version is fantastic because it shows you're not just lost, you're trying to understand the problem on a much deeper level. Now, there are a few traps you definitely want to avoid here. The smart move is to be really specific. Don't just say, I'm confused. Say, could you clarify what you meant by synergy? The biggest mistake, the cardinal sin, is asking about something that was just clearly explained 5 minutes ago. That just screams, I wasn't listening. If you did miss it, maybe just ask a coworker quietly after the meeting. The most important thing here is your tone. It has to be genuinely curious and collaborative. You're not trying to challenge them, you're just trying to get on the same page.
Okay, time for our next tool. Once you're feeling anchored and you're following the conversation, you can level up to the connector. This phrase is pure gold. It completely transforms you from just a passive listener into an active collaborator. It is probably the single best way to signal that you are a team player, that you're not just sitting there waiting for your turn to talk, but you're actively processing and engaging with what other people are saying.
The real power of this phrase is all in the psychology. You are acknowledging a teammate. You're making them feel heard and validated, which, by the way, is a huge part of building good relationships at work. Just look at these variations. The agreement one is a great, smooth way to introduce a related idea. The adding detail version shows you've done your homework. And my personal favorite is the connecting ideas version. When you say something like, that actually connects back to what Aisha said earlier, you're showing this super high level of listening. It proves you're tracking the entire story of the meeting, not just the last sentence that was spoken.
But the key to making this work is that you have to be authentic. Always use the person's name. Saying, building on what Sarah said is 100 times more powerful than building on that last point. Now, the big mistake to avoid is what's called the fake build. That's when someone says, building on what Tom said, I think we should do the complete opposite. It's so passive-aggressive, and everybody in the room can see right through it. If you disagree, that's fine, but that's a different conversation, and it's probably not one for your very first meeting. Your goal here is to be a genuine extension of someone's idea, not to hijack it.
And now we've arrived at the most advanced phrase in our whole toolkit, the contributor. This is where you move from clarifying and connecting to actually offering a potentially new idea. Now, this one's the highest risk, but it also carries the highest reward. The absolute key to making this work is to frame your idea as a humble, curious question, not as a statement. Saying, has the team considered, feels collaborative. Saying, we should do this, can sound pretty arrogant, especially coming from the new person.
So let's look at how to use this one strategically. If you have some relevant experience from a past job, that experience variation is perfect. It frames your input as a humble offering, not some command from on high. If you see a potential blind spot, asking about risk shows you're thinking strategically. And that what-if version, it's a fantastic way to break a deadlock when the team feels stuck by suggesting a small, low-risk experiment. The psychology here is that you're acknowledging the team's history. You're basically saying, hey, you all have way more context than I do, but here's a question from my fresh perspective. It invites a discussion instead of shutting one down.
The biggest mistake with this one is all about the tone. You have to avoid the know-it-all trap at all costs. Nothing shuts a room down faster than the new person saying, well, at my old company. It's also so important that you are genuinely prepared to be wrong. The team might come back and say, great question. We actually tried that a year ago, and here's why it was a disaster. Your response should be, wow, that's fascinating. Thanks for that context. The goal isn't to get your idea accepted right away. It's to show that you're a critical thinker who can bring a new perspective to the table.
So, we have our 3 phrases. That's your script. But we all know a great performance is about more than just the lines you say. To really, truly maximize your impact, you need to master the unspoken stuff, the metagame of the meeting that's happening all around the actual conversation. Active listening is the foundation for absolutely everything else. And it's a visible act. Your body language is screaming either I'm engaged or I'm checked out. So put your phone away. I mean it, out of sight. Lean in a little, make eye contact with whoever's speaking, and take strategic notes. I love this 3-column method. 1 column for key facts and decisions, 1 for your own questions and ideas as they pop into your head, and 1 for action items. This keeps you locked in. And always remember, listen to understand, not just to wait for your turn to talk. That's the biggest mistake nervous people make. You know, the meeting isn't actually over when it ends. A simple, thoughtful follow-up email can be just as powerful as anything you said in the room. A few hours later, just shoot a brief message to the organizer or your manager. It follows this simple but really powerful 3-part template. Part 1, a quick thank you. Part 2, and this is the key, show you were listening. Reference a specific topic and maybe offer 1 tiny additional thought. And Part 3, confirm your understanding of your next steps. This simple little email cements your reputation as someone who's proactive, responsible, and engaged. So, let's pull all of this together into a clear, actionable game plan. We've gone from the anxiety of the unknown to a really structured framework for confidence. It was never about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the most prepared, the most attentive, and the most strategically engaged person in the room. And really, this is the entire journey, right here. You can think of it like a ladder of participation. You start on solid ground, preparation. Then, you take that first step onto the ladder with the anchor phrase, which safely grounds you in the conversation. From there, you build bridges with the connector phrase, showing you're a collaborator. And finally, when the moment is just right, you reach that top rung with the contributor phrase, offering your own unique perspective. It's a logical, repeatable process that builds real confidence at every single step.
Your first meeting isn't some test that you pass or fail. It's an opportunity. It's a chance to listen, a chance to learn, and a chance to lay the foundation for becoming a truly valued member of the team. You now have the mindset, you have the preparation strategy, and you have a whole toolkit of phrases to do exactly that. You don't have to be brilliant, you just have to be engaged. So the next time you're sitting in that room and the silence feels deafening, you'll have an answer. The only question left is, what will you choose to say?